was a movie, and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello and welcome to Dad's Dating After Divorce, the only podcast helping you ditch the cargo shorts, master the swipe, and actually find someone who likes your dad jokes. My name is Jude Sandoval. I am the founder of The Divorced Advocate, and my co-host is Dallas Bluth, founder of Black Box Dating. I take it you like that new opening. I'm gonna start testing them every week. New ones. And
my reaction is going to be what tells you. Ditching the cargo shorts in itself sounds like a dad joke. So that's what had me rolling right away.
Perfect. Well, I am a dad, so it all fits perfectly well. All right. So now that we've started on a low note, let's see if we can't dig ourselves out. We're going to be talking, Dallas, today about the unwritten rules of communication in 2026. And so most of us dads haven't dated for a while. The last time we probably were dating, we were poking people on Facebook and had our BlackBerry Messenger phones out and whatnot. So things have changed a little bit. There's the whole FaceTiming stuff, and there's swiping, and there's apps, and there's texting, which is a whole thing we could probably do an entire episode on in and of itself of text. So we're going to just try to get the dads up to speed today. And so dads, if you're listening, if you're like me, like when I just first started this, like, oh my God, I was blowing up women's phones with text messages, and they're like running for the hills. And like, I had no idea. And like, I was just dumb. I didn't know like sending 15 messages in a minute was like a bad thing. Right. So we're going to help, try to avoid some of those faux pas things. And what I do want to say though, as a dad, and in 2026, being clear and communicative is really good and sexy. And like we talked about last week about kind of your built-in automatic skills that you already have now, you should have a lot of this stuff because you're a dad. You've probably, if you weren't good at communication before you had kids, and especially if you have teens now, like I do, like you probably have gotten a lot better at communicating schedules and logistics and really just being direct, right? Maybe not beating around the bush about stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about. Dallas, initial thoughts.
Huge topic. There is so much to this. I just want to know, after texting a woman 15 times in just a few minutes, and she didn't respond, did you then poke her on Facebook? That's what I want to know.
Basically, no poking at all happened, Dallas. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. All right.
Hey, you opened it up.
I did.
Yeah. So I want to approach this kind of a couple of different ways, and those are kind of the dating pathways. Ways like one is you're on the apps and you're communicating that way into dates and dating, and the other is you're in person and you're meeting and getting a number or setting up a date and then doing that. So let's start with the app process, because that seems to be like where everybody is, as much as we will continue to emphasize in person is great, is better. It's less time consuming. It's more efficient. Like there's so many more benefits to that. But I know a lot of dads want to maybe just dip their toe in with the online dating. It's passive. It's like very risk averse and easy to do. So that's understandable. Do you want to make a comment about that though?
It's also draining. The online dating apps, it's a bit of a grind. You're going to put in a lot of time sending messages that you don't get a response to. Don't take that personally. That's just the nature of the beast. That's part of the technology and the means of communication.
Right.
Let me make one comment out there, and I'll probably come back to this several times. Is in the beginning, the man and the woman are both strangers to each other. There's inherently risk. There's a whole lot of unknowns. And we as men have to remember that the woman is innately more vulnerable than we are when we're a total stranger. And when we keep that in mind, we have to realize we have to be a little bit more flexible and adaptable to whatever medium of communication that woman is the most comfortable with, as well as the pacing and the style of the communication that the woman is comfortable with. So when we talk about the online dating apps, some women want to chat on there for a while. They'll have a lot of messages back and forth. You'll ask them out and then they're like, well, I'm not really that comfortable. I don't like to meet a guy until, I don't know, they've had 3 binders worth of texting back and forth through the dating app.
Right.
That's her comfort level. That's where it is. But for other women, you will get hardly any responses at all, but they will continue to respond when you reach out to them. They're just waiting for you to ask them out a lot of the time.
Exactly.
They want to take it from this digital format to in real life. And the advice that I always give my clients is you have to be flexible in the beginning. You have to let a woman be where she's comfortable. That woman that wants to meet in real life, quickly, what she's most sensitive to is how much the dating apps are draining her energy. And she's protecting herself from that drain. These other women that want to message on there a whole bunch, they feel like there's more danger in meeting in person, somebody that they haven't messaged with a whole lot. And that's where you have to, make that accommodation. I'm not saying obviously to be a doormat and to keep doing this, several dates in, but in the beginning, be flexible, be adaptive. You set your lead, you see how she responds, and then you adjust your lead accordingly.
So is there something to be said though if somebody does want, because I find the women that I have met dating online that want to message back and forth and don't want to meet, and when I say meet sooner than later, that doesn't mean you send a message and meet tomorrow, right? That means maybe sending some messages back and forth. Some women want a message for a day or two. And like you said, you can kind of get that gauge if their responses are kind of minimal, et cetera. They're either not interested or they just want to eat. They want to meet in real life and not message back and forth. I found that I'm more compatible with somebody like that. So usually I will I call it escalate, and maybe that's not a good word, but I will initiate, escalate to the next level of wanting to meet in person relatively quickly after some messages, some cordials, et cetera, because after just some of the basic stuff, then you get into the deposition style questions of what's going on in your life. And then that just becomes, then you tell me what you think of that. I use that as an opportunity to then try to lead it into it's much easier to depose me in person than it would be on,
Is it, Jude? Is it easier to depose them, or is it easier for you to distract them away from the deposition?
Exactly. I'm much more charming in person than over text, right? For sure. So there's something to be said maybe for kind of, if you find, now I've done a lot of dating, right? So I've kind of seen the difference. Tell me what you think about that. And have you been inclined to a woman or somebody that is one way or the other, or do you think it just kind of crosses over?
Okay, so first of all, there's personal preferences. I do like a woman who's more verbose over text. I'm a words guy. I enjoy that part of the communication. I try to be a little bit playful, and in my nature, I get turned off if she's not playful in response to me. But there are many women that I've met in person, and it's a whole different vibe once we're in person. It's a whole different texting game after we've met in person than before, particularly after we've kissed. Suddenly, the texting and the messaging comes alive. I'm going to come back to the principle I was stating earlier. You got to cut a lot of slack in the beginning. Don't think that through this tiny little phone and these little profiles that are busy on your end and really busy on her end, that you can somehow figure out who and what she really is. You can't. So I think the word escalation is good. It's maybe a little strong for this context, but that's what it is. You're escalating. You're trying to move the ball down the field. You're like, okay, cool. We've done this play. It was fine. We got a catch. It's time to move. It's time to make another play. And as a man, I think most women really enjoy it when the man initiates, puts himself out there, makes that invitation. The question is, what does she do when you ask her out? She's like, oh, I'd like to text her some more. I mean, I'll say, okay, cool. Give a few days, for that to kind of sink in or whatever's going on. Sometimes I will ask, if they're like that, but I still want to not waste my time and I want to move things forward. I'll say, well, that's fine. Do you want to move this conversation over to texting? Because here's the other thing you got to remember with online dating. People disappear at any time and any place out of nowhere. That woman could suddenly get exhausted, all kinds of things. Your goal on the dating apps is to get out of the dating apps as quickly as possible. Some women don't want to share their phone number until they met you in person.
I was just going to say that some don't, are like, no, I just want to message through this app until we meet, and then if I feel comfortable, I'll give you the number too. So I find like women are all over the place on this.
Yes,
like they're all over the place.
So you got to cut a lot of slack. You have to understand that they're coming from different places because they're going to feel safe and comfortable in different places. And you got to be flexible. You got to be like, okay, cool. This woman wants to talk with me on the phone or FaceTime me before meeting in person. Fine. That's cool. I'd like to get her number just so we can text showing up to the date. This is a personal thing with me. It feels like a shoestring, like a thread that we're hanging by to meet for a date when we're only messaging through the app. That to me just feels very precarious. But some women, that's what they love to do. And here's the other thing. Don't worry about being perceived as, as a creep or as being, I don't know, too forward or something when you invite them. And go, hey, would you like to transition this over to text? They're like, no, I really, I prefer just to chat here. Let her set her boundaries with whatever's comfortable for her. But it's your job, in the lead to take your shot and to try to move the ball down the field, make another play. And as Jude says, escalate in poking her on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully you're not dating on Facebook, but hey, I guess there is a dating marketplace on Facebook. I have not entered into that, and I don't know that.
I have to jump in and say that was the last one I used.
Really?
I haven't actively used any dating apps myself from my personal life. I think we're coming up on 2 years now. On a personal level, energetically, it feels awesome. But the last one that I used, and I think I used it for about a year, was the Facebook dating app. And I personally liked it because the dating app in Facebook is there to promote just traffic on Facebook itself. So it's really a product. I don't even remember if there were any premium features that you could buy. It was just, and that anyone on there for the most part is going to be a real person.
Right.
This isn't just a dating profile. It took the basic elements of all the dating apps, put them together, and it was just swipe on each other, send a conversation, meet in person. I thought it was nice because it cut out a lot of the baloney of the other apps.
Yeah, the other apps have all these different features that are not necessarily beneficial, right? It's just connect, see if you like each other and try to meet, but it doesn't benefit them if you get off the app and stop paying by month every month.
And to that point, I am to this day convinced that Facebook knew exactly the type of woman I was looking for and would show me women close to that, but never actually that, so that I would keep the app installed and I would keep using it.
On Facebook, yeah. Maybe one episode we could go through some of the apps and talk about some of the apps and do that. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that sounds awful to you, I know, but that's okay. All right. So what about our safety though? So you talked about them, et cetera. Are you comfortable with using like a Google number or a burner number or something like that? Because we do have kids, and last thing we want is somebody that is blowing up our phones after, one date or 2 dates. And you said, oh, I don't think we're going to match or whatever. And then it becomes a problem. You can link your phone numbers with addresses and stuff like that online.
Very true. Yeah.
I just might have a story or two around that if you come to our live event on the 19th, you might get to hear some of that because we'll be at the View House. But what do you think about that? Is that fair to be able to let her know that I've got this, this is my number, or that you're just using that number for dating?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it. I haven't used it a whole lot myself in a long time, but particularly with children, when you reveal to her later, you go on a date or 2 dates and you're like, hey, I just want to let you know the number I gave you is a number I used just for the online dating. I'd like to give you my real number now. Okay, that sounds like you're stepping in deeper. You're trusting her more. That doesn't feel bad. I've had many, many, many women do that to me. I'm not offended that they gave me a number that they're using to protect themselves. That's disconnected from who they are. I don't have a problem with it. And particularly if you're saying the reason I do this, if you're curious, is just I want to be sure my kids are safe. I don't want people to be able to look at my address. I think any woman should look at that and go, well, that's a good, protective, nurturing, instinct that you have. You're taking precautions. You're not being cavalier with your responsibilities as a father. I think that's great. I don't see any reason not to.
Okay. Well, I agree with that 100%. And I think it's a good, a good way, a good system to have in place, dads, just to make sure, because there's so much information out there. And literally, if you've got a phone number, you can literally trace somebody and find their address and where they work and everything else. So I would recommend getting, and it's easy to get a Google number, use that number. I use it for business too. So I do that. So definitely use that. So you talked about some of the features on the apps, and we kind of have these features, these communication features of the FaceTiming, the video chats, as well as the voice message as well. Give us some feedback around those, because I'll give you my take. I hate them. I despise the video chats, and I despise the voice recording things. I would rather just, okay, let's have a phone call. If you want to have a phone call, old school, we'll have a little chat. I don't know why we need to do it on video. Let's just have a chat. I've done it. It's uncomfortable. It's weird. It's kind of where should I sit in my office? Right here, I'm in a, I'm recording a podcast, or should I be laying, not probably be laying in my bed and talking.
Your bathtub, obviously. You want bubbles, you want some candles going in the background. You want some cheesy 1980s saxophone music playing. That's how you're supposed to do. No, absolutely
some
not.
Luther Vandross playing. Yeah. Okay. What are your thoughts on that? So you hear a lot more than I do from women. And I get this request from women sometimes, hey, I'd love a video chat.
Yeah.
What do you feel?
It's a vibe check. Okay. They want to know, okay, what is this? He's texting great, but what does he feel like in real time? What does he look like in real time? Is he super nervous? Does he show up? In a lot of ways, these are time-saving tools to make sure that, I, as a woman, it's worth it for me to go on a date with this guy, and vice versa. They want you to kind of reveal a little more of yourself to them before making the jump to meeting in person. That's what's really at the heart of it. And I think when you see it that way, you have to ask yourself, oh, this is so annoying. She wants me to do this. Well, if a woman that you're genuinely interested in, you're not going to be annoyed when she says, well, I'd like to video chat with you first. You'll be like, yeah, no problem. Now, on my end, I would keep it short.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Well, okay. So I
flat out, I will usually say something nice, I'm just not really comfortable with video chatting, but I'd love to get together in person and buy a coffee or whatever.
And is that
same concept? It's the same concept of what she's trying to do, which is get a vibe check. It's a public place. Right. For me, it's all the same. It accomplishes all the same things that I feel like she's looking for. Yeah. And it gives me a better opportunity to really see if we connect instead of just another thing. So really, literally, no matter how hot she is, I'll be like, I'm not really, I'm not up for that.
That's fine. And you can set it and you can say no. And, it plays out the way it plays out. From the woman's point of view, imagine this is a big sales funnel. And she, as a woman, has way more sales leads coming in the top of her funnel than we do as men. And she's got to percolate that down. She's got to figure out how to weed out. And the cost for her of a 5-10 minute video chat versus the cost of a 30 to 1 hour conversation, closer to an hour probably, coffee date. I have to get ready. I have to go there. I have to come back. Realize she's just working a sales funnel down to see the guys that really connect with her. Now, if you want to hop out of her sales funnel because you don't want to do step 2 or 3 and you're trying to get to her step 5, I mean, that's your choice. But from her point of view, she wants to whittle these down and save time and energy and all of that. And I mean, personally, I don't have a problem. If I look at it like a job that I'm interviewing for, and it's Google, that I'm seeing if I can work for them, or I am fine for a well paid, high end job, I'm fine jumping through the damn hoops I got to jump through in order for them to vet me properly for this position. You need me to pee in a cup for, for a drug test. You need me to talk to have a series of 4 or 5 different interviews along the way. It's all a question of what I'm applying for, what the process is, because, like Google, tons of people, applying for these jobs.
I think that's where my rub comes, is that I feel like I should be moving it in the direction. I shouldn't be jumping through the hoops. So for what you just described, I think is in my masculine nature, I'm not comfortable with, let me jump through more of your hoops so that I can, get to that first date.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that bugs me.
Okay. So for me, jumping on a video call for 5 or 10 minutes, I'm not worried about where I am. I'm not worried about how I'm dressed. For me, this isn't jumping through a hoop. This is me making the woman feel safe. She's told me, Dallas, I need a vibe check. Like I want to see your face. I want to see your mouth move. I want to see that you're real. I want to see that you aren't 15 years older than your photos on this profile, because I've been on so many dates where I've been tricked this way and I'm sick of it as a woman. Like I'm tired of guys doing this. And me as a guy, I'm like, here, yes, I'm fine validating who I am. I'm fine showing you that I am exactly what I present to be. You can feel it and you go, yeah, okay, this is solid. This checks out. For me, 5-10 minutes somewhere doesn't matter. And I'm just, I see what you mean by jumping through hoops, but I mean, if she's trying to, have a long conversation for 30 minutes, I'll be like, hey, look, I gotta go. I would love to continue this conversation. Let's do it in person. But I'm giving her what she needs to feel safe. And every woman needs something different.
Yeah, that's understandable, which I think leads us to what we mentioned before, which is in person is so much better because you're not dealing with all this monkey business. So if you're meeting in person, there's already a vibe check automatically happening. Yes. She sees you, you see her. Like all that crap that goes on with the dating apps and the people not showing up or ghosting or all that stuff, just it goes away, right? So that is just a perfect example of all of this. And then to your point, there are women that are truly just trying to get that vibe check and feeling comfortable. And there are the women that are actually making you jump through hoops and making it difficult.
And you don't really know why they're asking beforehand or when they ask the question. Right. You don't know. For me, if a woman wants me to jump on a video call, be sure, and you let it go. And then about 5 minutes, 10 minutes in, you go, hey, I got to run. I've got other things that I got to do. I'm going to cut it off. I'm not going to keep giving her all that she asks for. And me saying, okay, I'm setting a boundary here. I'm not going to let you feed off of me more than this. That for me is me staying in my masculine frame. But me saying, what do sure, I'm now, does she need a second one of those or a third one of those? Yeah, I would be like, you've seen me, you know where we are. Let's move this forward. But if she needs it for whatever reason, and again, this is where I feel that we really need to think about her perspective. She's seen so many guys that are carrying 40, 50 pounds more in real life than they are in their photos. They've got 10 plus years, more on them than they do in their photos. Women are sick and tired of being drained by the process. And this is the thing you need to appreciate. How much does it really cost me as a man to give her 5 minutes on a video call for her to see Dallas doesn't drain you?
Hold on. What woman have you ever talked to for 5 minutes on a video call? Like that's going to be way more than 5 minutes, unless you're just answering yes or no.
Well,
come on, man.
Okay, all the ones that I said, this is great talking to you. I'm sorry, but I got to run.
Oh, okay.
I'm cutting it off.
Say that. Yeah. Okay. So you can then. All right. So let's talk about it in that context.
That's my masculine. When you talk about the masculine frame, that's the masculine frame is saying, "Hey, I got to run. We just had a quick chat. It's been 5 minutes. I got to get going here." And that creates scarcity, on your end. That says you're going other places, you're doing other things. You don't have to get all dressed up. You don't have to have the bubble bath going. Obviously that's a joke. You can do it wherever you need to do. She just wants to make sure that you're what you appear to be. That's right.
Well, that makes sense. So that would be that would be more understandable, because then also what that does is, if she asks for another one, then it's just jumping through hoops. If she doesn't, and then you're able to escalate it to the next point, or the next level, which is asking her out and meeting in person, then that it was just truly a vibe check. And it was only 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And if she, and if she wants, to have another video call, you go, hey, look, I'm really looking to meet somebody in person. Notice I'm saying I'm talking about me, not her. I'm not saying, well, it seems like you really, I'm not saying anything like that. That's putting a burden, that's creating all kinds of resistance. I say, look, I'm really looking to meet somebody in person. I would love to meet you in person, but for me, that's what I'd like to do next. And I just, you just set it square and let her deal with it. She's not going to get anything new off of a second or third call that she hasn't met already. This is assuming, by the way, that she's in town, and that getting coffee isn't some big thing. Yeah. If she lives like, a 2-hour flight from you, I would hope you would adjust these rules accordingly. And,
that's a whole nother, and so some of that stuff is important to lay out and ask, because I can't tell you the number of times I get, but I'm in Phoenix, or I'm like, why are you dating, and why do you have your app set to Denver? I'm a flight attendant. Okay, great. Well, so some of those things, and that's part of that back and forth kind of texting thing, or the messaging thing in the beginning, and just kind of getting the cordials and talking about some stuff. But you really need to kind of dive into, like, you can do it. I feel like you can do it in a fun, silly way that kind of tests, well, are you in town? Are you available? Like some of the basic things that you can't get, like, without really talking to her or asking her out.
Yeah. And if you want to make those fun and light and not heavy, say, so I just need to check. I've met several women. Turns out they're not living, in my city. Do you actually live here? And you're basically sharing in, this past experience that you've had. You're like, look, I'm looking for this type of experience. Yeah. And you lead the questions that way. That even makes it so that you're not being a hard ass yourself as a man. You're just kind of like using, the burner number, the Google number or whatever. You're doing it to protect yourself. You're doing it to protect your time. You're vetting properly. I think that's a good way to frame it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. One last thing on the dating apps, and then let's switch over and talk about more communication in person. I know you've suffered through this for half the episode. I appreciate you, Dallas. Those voice to text or things that are on all the apps, and then they're actually on, like, you could do it on text messages too, which, like, I've got a friend and she knows that I hate him. So now she just does them all the time. She'll, like, send me a text message with a voice message. Like, I'm going to kill you. Just call me. This is ridiculous.
Okay. This is another vibe check. This is another her getting the information that she needs of her experience of you. That's what this comes down to. I'm going to guess most of the men listening to this have had situations where a woman says, Dallas, I just want to hear your voice. She gets all the words she wants over texting, but she doesn't get my voice. The voice has a huge impact. It has a reality. It has a time to achieve. Texting drains a lot of information out of it. It's easy to misread. Yeah. Well, when you're leaving a voice message like that, where she's listening to an audio of you for 25 seconds, 45 seconds, she is getting a fuller picture of you all at once. Now, here's the thing, and I should have mentioned this earlier with the video calls, is, guys, you need to be comfortable putting yourself out there. It's like, did I initially like leaving my first voice notes for a woman? No, I didn't. But now I'm realizing how incredibly impactful they are to a woman, and I use them. They are heavy hitters. A woman gets a bunch of texts from me back and forth, and then I drop a voice note. She's like, oh, wait. And she'll save that for, like, a special treat after the workday. She'll check her phone real quick, for the text messages. But wait, no, there's this guy's voice, because he really wants to say something to me and he wants me to hear his voice. That has impact. That goes deeper. Use this, because most men are not. Most men are shy. Most men are like, I don't see why I should have to. You don't have to, but use it because it has impact. That will make, when you leave that voicemail and it's like, oh, well, I've heard this guy's voice and these other 26 guys that messaged me today on the dating app, I don't know what they sound like. Well, guess what? You just became higher resolution to that woman. You
differentiated yourself.
You differentiated yourself. You're the job candidate that recorded a video and sent it with the resume, as opposed to here's the resume. It's just impact. It's and they have these tools there because it's part of all of our communication these days. Learn how to use them, effectively. And, and you're giving a woman a little preview, a little slice, of who you are. Don't keep playing into it, all the time when you've never met in person. But, this is part of you becoming provocative to her.
Dallas, do you think it's confusing if I record that in my Cartman voice from South Park?
If kidding. You have not already mentioned South Park as part of it, but if you're having a super playful, I know that was a joke and Gusto, but the truth is, if you're having a super playful exchange, I'll give you an example of this. Emerald Sinclair, she's a female dating coach here in Denver. I collaborate with her. She tells the story about when she met her current boyfriend that she lives with. And they met at a party. They were having a lot of fun. He mentioned this thing where, you stack the quarters on your elbow and then you catch them in midair. Yeah. She'd never seen it or done it. So she didn't completely understand. And, big surprise. Nobody has any pocket change there at the party. So the next day, rather than go, hey, it was great meeting you and sending him a text, he took a video of himself with those coins, catching them and sent them to her, and then probably said something as well in the video. Okay, what he did was he didn't go all polite interview style. He continued the play and the exchange and the experience right there. And he had a mic drop video moment for her. And she watched it and look, there's no pressure on her. She could be in her jammies. She could be in the tub. Doesn't matter. And she's like, well, there's a video coming, from this guy. And she watches it. And she knew immediately, when he did that, she was like, oh, this is my kind of guy. If you're talking about some kind of South Park stuff or being playful and you do want to do something that's more fun and entertaining, that's just a preview for the date to come that she's going to now say yes to.
Actually, I might create my profile with my pictures as Cartman's personality and see how many dates I get. We should. I might test that one, and we can come back and report that. And then I'll talk like Cartman and I'll act like Cartman, but I'll just have my pictures and see how many dates I get.
I hope there is an abundance of charts and empirical data.
I'll write a book like Dataclysm. My life is Cartman. Okay, I digress. So let's switch over. You talked about the in person now. Whole different ball game, right? Because basically what you're doing now with your communication, 90% of this has already happened, like that we just talked about. It has already happened because you've met the person face to face. You've had a conversation that vibe check has already happened. You like how she looks. She likes how you look. And then hopefully we're going to take it from the point of you've asked her like, hey, I'd love to get together, or there's this coffee shop. Would you like to? And she says yes. And you got her number. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're going to take it from, you've already done that. If you guys don't feel comfortable figuring that out, we've already recorded a bunch of podcasts and episodes about, cold approach, how to do that, how to communicate effectively, how to dress to do it, like all that stuff. Go back and listen to that. We're going to take it from here with, you got the number and then you walk away. And then how do you start that text communication? There used to be this old school thing of like, wait 3 to 5 days and communicate. I think that's BS kind of now these days, right? Maybe don't go in the parking lot and send the 15 messages like I did. But what do you start doing after that?
Again, Jude, let me clarify. So you've met her in real life. You have her phone number, but okay. But have you been on a date yet, or no date yet?
No. You met this person, and however you met them, maybe you were at work, maybe you met them at work, maybe you met them through somebody else, maybe you cold approached them, but you got their number. You said something about getting together, and then now you need to do something. What do you do?
Okay. Well, I mean, it depends a little bit on that first interaction, how much was exchanged, how much commonality was established, or did you just think she was attractive in the supermarket? You chatted her up for a minute, you got her name, you got her number, and then you went on your way. You're going to follow up differently depending on that. I think it's good to follow up in a just short, close the loop, she now has your number sort of way. So, hey, Sarah, great to meet you. Hey, Sarah, great meeting you at the supermarket yesterday. Let me look at my schedule, for what's going on next week, and would love to get together with you. So notice how I kicked the can down the road and I took all the pressure off by doing that.
And you can do that whenever you want, right? Like,
yeah, you can do that whenever. I think I would probably do that. If I met her in the morning, I might do that at the end of the day. Or, if I met her in the second half of the day, I might wait and do that the next morning, or preferably probably afternoon. What I'm doing there is I'm closing the loop. And what I'm doing is I'm demonstrating to her that Dallas is the kind of guy that when he says he'll do something, he does it. That's what I'm demonstrating. Because again, we have, in her mind, she's like, am I safe? Okay, this guy did what he said he would do. That's a green check. That's a good thing. I'm just giving her that green check. And then I'm actually taking the pressure off of like, yeah. And also, what are you doing, tomorrow night? And, do you want to grab a drink? That's kind of like I'm trying to do it like all in one rush, of energy, all in one flow. You want to let her settle down just a minute. You want to let yourself settle down just a minute. I think that's what the 3-day rule is all about. You don't want to feel needy, like I just got this, and if I don't make it happen in this one thrust, of it's a bad word to use. If I don't use this in this one, I know,
you got a lot of poking and thrusting going on today, Dallas.
No comment. You don't want her to feel like you're trying to like make it happen now before she slips away. You want to let it all settle down. My clients, the word I use for this is your baseline. You want to reestablish your baseline, and you say, hey, let me see what's going on next week. Would love to get together with you for whatever. I need to check my schedule. I need to see what events are going on, whatever you want to use. But I'm kicking the can down the road and I'm letting her off the hook by telling her that. I find that that's very effective.
Okay.
Yeah. And let me just say for the 3-day rule, I'm not sure how necessary it is. I've actually never seen it fail.
And, interesting.
Yeah. So there have been times that, I'll be at a singles event, I'll get a woman's number. And for whatever reason, I might text her right there on the spot. She has my number. But for whatever reason, I don't follow up. There's a lot going on. I'm not sure she didn't reply to something. I don't know. But I'll wait until the middle of next week, 3, 4, even 5 days. Honestly, those messages get very fast responses.
Interesting.
And I've never had
Is there psychology around that? Because these rules come up for usually some good reason, but I've never heard any kind of psychology around it that I've read.
Well, I don't know that this is like formal psychology, but I think it's pretty well known that women love anticipation. And when I don't just try to follow through on the act with her of let's go out, let's do this, let's do that. And instead, I'm taking a moment, coming back to my baseline. She's slowly starting to bubble up inside. Well, am I going to hear from him? Oh, there was that guy. Oh, it's a shame I didn't hear from him. I was kind of hoping he would. I don't want to reach out because if I do, then he's going to maybe think that I'm too eager. This is all the thoughts going through a woman's head. And that energy is building up inside her if she's interested. And then 3, 4, 5 days later, you're like, hey, I was wondering if maybe you were free this weekend. I really enjoyed meeting you at the event last week. What are you up to on Friday? She's, after that buildup happens, she's going to be like, yes, hi, definitely. So good to hear from you. Blah, 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 blah. Maybe even get one of those voice notes back in return that Jude hates to get.
Just call me, damn it.
Yeah. I actually want to give one thing that I did. There was a woman that I met, and it was, I wasn't quite sure. There was some complications going on. I messaged her after I got her number. I think it was actually on the spot, and her friend was really encouraging me to ask her out. And I sent messages. I didn't get anything back. And I think this was like a Friday night or a Saturday night. I waited until the following Wednesday. And I was waiting, just to be clear, not to message her. I was waiting for me to see if I was still thinking about her. I wanted to see if I was still interested. And that's a good reason to use this 3 to 5 day rule, is for you to reestablish your base and ask yourself, okay, was it just in the moment, or is this woman still in the back of my mind? Because if she's still in the back of your mind, you should pursue that and see where it goes. Right. So I waited, and I waited, and I was busy on Monday and Tuesday, and I do want to reach out. And so on Wednesday, I dropped a voice message from her. I got a message back within minutes of leaving that voice message. If I had just sent her a text message, that would have felt kind of passive. That would have felt like I'm waiting for her to come to the middle. And I was like, no, I'm going to drop this. I want her to hear my voice. I want her to experience me again. And the impact, it shot me to the top of the pile, because she was like, oh, this guy must be not just casually interested. I can hear his voice. He's reminding me. I'm back in his world the way I was, 5 days earlier. That was waiting that certain amount of time, checking in with myself. And then I used the voice note, and it totally worked.
Interesting. So I think the point that I want to get, that we should get across to the dads is, and you say it all the time, slow is good. Like, don't think that you need to rush things. So if you do meet and you get a number and you do that follow up, like, hey, looking forward to getting together. Yeah. And then you wait 3 days. That's okay. Like, you don't have to next day. You don't have to lock this in. You don't have to build that anticipation, allow her to think about your conversation, and then do something unique, like the voice method. What do they call it? Voice to text,
voice
or
note,
text to voice.
No, text to voice. Voice is the technology where it types out. I think it's a voice note.
Voice, like a voice note. What about a phone call at that point? Like old school Dallas, like we used to pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, you want to go out with me on Thursday at 2:00?" Right? Okay. Like, can you still do that?
Yeah, you totally can. Okay, but here's and this is what I've realized about the voice note, which is just an audio recording you're sending her. Okay, I have had plenty of people that never check their voicemail. Actually, let me back that up. Okay, it's very, very, very easy for someone not to answer a phone. The woman doesn't want that pressure of, I have to talk to this guy right now. Sometimes if they're super ready, eager, they know you've got a big green check mark, yes, next to your name on their phone, they will answer. But a lot of times that won't be the case. And you calling is kind of forward, and it is making a certain demand on her when you do that. And if I leave,
is that the demand? Well, is that too much of a demand?
Well,
especially if you've already talked to her in person, though. Like,
okay, but we haven't met in person. Again, I see.
No. This is, you have met in person.
You've met in person, but you haven't had a date yet.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I want to give a woman every opportunity to warm up in her time and feel safe according to her rules, not mine. My rules do not apply to this situation. I mean, they do on my end. I'm not going to do like 4 video calls that are, 20 minutes each. Like, I'm not going to do that. That's my rule. But I'm not going to set rules around what she needs to feel safe. And so, and what I want is to give her a gift. I want to entice her, and that's what I'm doing. Now, if I make that phone call, there is, I think, social expectation of the other person to pick up. And she has to be kind of like, oh, I'm going to hang up on him. Like there's a little bit of her having to be in a place that she doesn't, where it's a little bit stressful inside of her. And the voicemail is the same thing as the voice note. So I'm just bypassing the stress on her end of ringing her phone. I'm jumping right into the voicemail message that we're all planning to leave anyway as a dude, because he's probably not going to pick up in a lot of these situations. Sure. Well, that's just the voice note. It's just a voicemail where I said, you know what, honey, you don't have to pick up the phone. I'm not making that demand of you. This is a gift. This is a one-sided, completely gratuitous something. I just want you to hear my voice and what I have to say. Here it is.
Can a phone call be kind of a vibe check for you? If somebody is not comfortable enough to be able to pick up a phone and have a brief, like less than, like the vice versa, like what you were talking about with the woman wanting to have a vibe check with you, and can he articulate and speak in full sentences, and does he have all of his teeth, right? like same thing with a phone call. Is she of the type of personality that can pick up the phone and talk for 5 minutes or less. You're not going to be going on about your family and talking about stuff. You're just going to like, hey.
So she doesn't know that. Okay. She doesn't know that this is only going to be a 5-minute phone call. She doesn't know that if you just call her.
Okay.
She
Thinks
also,
that as a guy, you want to talk about like your lineage and all that? Because
she doesn't know. That's the thing. And women don't want to walk into situations where they don't know. They want to walk into situations where they feel safe. And that phone call is an unknown situation. She doesn't know. She doesn't want, what if she quote unquote says the wrong thing? It tips you off. You start yelling at her and she has to hang up. Okay. That is a very stressful place for a woman to be in.
Of course. This seems like such a, like we've diminished things to such a low bar. Like, I don't feel like a phone call is really that stressful and anxiety inducing that you're going to need a therapy session after if it really goes wrong. It just really seems like in our society, it's gotten to like lowest common, and that's why we're on the apps and doing it that way. Like lowest common. I understand everything and I agree with everything you're saying. Like 100%, but like at this point, like how much further are we going to digress down? And maybe this is just a rhetorical question that we can't answer. Like a phone call does not seem like that big of a deal to me.
Okay, so let me reframe this. Back in the day, phone calls were the only way to communicate with each other. And this episode is about all the tons of different ways that we can now communicate with people.
Right.
We used to call because we couldn't text. And we used to call or text because we couldn't leave that voice note, which is actually like a voicemail because someone didn't pick up. And we had to get in person because we didn't have the video calls. Well, look, rather than everything being stacked up in the phone call category the way it used to be, we've spread it out over a lot of different mediums. The channels of communication have simply changed. Now, back to your point about her being comfortable with a phone call. Now, I would say you've been out on 2 or 3 dates. Go right ahead and call her. I would say you want to integrate that into it. And if she has a problem being on the phone, okay, that's something about her as a person because she's seen you a couple times. You know, like there should be some trust that's established there. You know, it similarly would be, you've been on a few dates. Is she comfortable with you picking her up on that date? You know, or is she like, no, I can't do that. But you have to give the woman a chance. Again, let me paint a picture. I'm a 5 foot. Let me paint this picture. I am a 5'2" petite woman, and Jude is approaching me, who is over 6 feet tall, and he seems really nice. Again, emphasis on seems really nice. And he asked me for my number. He's making me laugh. But gosh, I've had toxic boyfriends in my past. I've had guys that like harass me. I have guys like they get my number and they're doing it. And I'm taking a chance here by giving this guy my number, and I don't know what he's going to do with it, and it's like, I like him and I want to trust him, but like I've been burned and really messed, okay, do I want that guy calling me or do I want that guy just giving me a voice that I can listen to and relax into and go, yeah, okay. Like that's the position that women are in. We have to appreciate this.
I think it's time for a rule.
Okay.
Because,
all right.
like Jude's got to have rules. So the rule is don't call, right? Like use the voice in this circumstance. Like you haven't been out yet. You just met her. Use the voice notes. Don't make a phone call. Because the voice note is going to serve the same purpose, like I talked about before with the meeting as opposed to a vibe check. It's going to serve the same purpose as a call, but it's going to potentially create the circumstances and the comfort zone that she feels where she can either call back if she does feel comfortable or text back if she wants to do it that route.
Yeah, that is a good rule. My rule, it's not a rule. There are 2 ingredients to create the chemistry magic with a woman. The first ingredient is safety first. Okay. Ain't nothing can happen nowhere, no how with no woman until she feels and experiences a deep sense of safety. And when somebody says, well, you should be able to just talk on the phone, that's making a demand of her. That is not giving her a sense of safety. She needs to experience the safety and she needs time to open up and relax into that safety, especially if you are a beast of a man and you've got your game on and you're attractive. And she's like, can I trust this guy? I mean, it seems like he could ask out any woman he wants, we have to allow, and what a woman needs for safety, unfortunately, is not going to be the same as the woman next to her and the woman next to
Right.
her and the woman next to her. It is going to be different. And that's why I'm saying we have to be flexible, understanding, chill, and at the, give, certain women need this, other women need that. Be, and this isn't jumping through hoops. This is saying, check, I got that in my go bag as a man. No problem. I can talk on the phone. I can do a video call. I can leave a note. I can do this. I can do that. You're just showing her that you're well-rounded and competent in all these areas. And when she knows you're competent and cool and chill about it, she's going to be like, oh, I feel safe around him. And that's where things start to open up.
Okay. So yeah, I understand all that. It's just like deciphering all that and figuring it out with a woman in real time is like absolutely frustrating. And
it's a dance.
It is. No, it's like a calculus freaking problem, Alice. It's not a.
We'll stop trying to figure her out then.
Like trying to understand what she needs. Like if you can't call, you can call. You do a voice note. She is responding. She's not responding. Like some of the next ones as well. Like if you don't get a response, do you wait? Okay. Is that ghosting? She's likely a mom, so she's probably busy. Some grace, like we talk about. How do you follow up with that? How long before you follow up with that? And like, what are some follow-ups to this if you kind of feel like you've gone like, oh, maybe this isn't working. How do I redirect and what does that look like?
Yeah. Okay. Really, really, really good questions that go through damn near every single guy's mind all the time. And the emotional state we get into is the one that you just labeled, frustration.
Right.
Frustration, though, is a huge turnoff to women. So we have to reframe that. We have to look at it a different way, because most of the statements you just said were questions about her. Is she this? What does she want? How does this? She, her. That's a dependent mindset revealed through my sentence patterns. My neuro-linguistic programming about myself is revealing itself as being more centered on her, which is needy, rather than me being centered on myself saying, well, I invited her out this weekend and I haven't heard back. I'm going to move on. I'm going, I'm still thinking about her 3 days later. She didn't reply to me in the messages I sent in that event. That's okay. I'm going to drop a voice note and see if that goes forward. I'm going to make from a grounded, centered place my invitations, and I'm going to wait and see how she responds to my invitations.
Okay.
Period. So, full stop. Let me just say this. I am not trying to figure her out.
Right. Well, but that's a little bit different than what you were saying in the beginning, because you're saying that everybody's got something. Every woman has a different way in which they want to do it, and being flexible and just being, having grace around that so that she can find the way to do that. The challenge though, Dallas, is, as we know, women don't communicate that quite effectively, right? So they might know. So if we're making the invitations, like you said, that's all we can do. Like we can just try, make the invitations how we feel comfortable with making the invitations. They might be wrong, and she might be comfortable with it, but that's incumbent upon her then to say, hey, can we have a phone call, or can we do a face call, or whatever? Like you can't be trying to figure out what it is that she needs in order to entice her. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's what I just want to be clear, because yes, what I described to you is frustration, because I hear it all the time from guys, right? Like, well, I don't understand. And what you said earlier was trying to understand what it is she needs. We just want to be clear that, guys, you continue to lead from your masculine frame by making invitations. Yeah. And so maybe you try something different. And if it doesn't work, then you pretty much have your answer then, because if she wants to see you and she wants to spend time with you, she is going to react, even if it's not the perfect way for you to for her to do it, or that you needed to do it. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Her response is her communication. You're saying, we know women don't communicate. Well, they are communicating. They're just not communicating verbally, consciously on a level. She's communicating by how she responds to you. This, and this applies in the, in the early invitations when you get a number you haven't had a date. This applies all the way to the bedroom. She communicates by how she responds to you. She's not going to, well, Jude, can you touch me here? And can you do this? And will you hold me for 18 minutes before we then begin to take off my clothes? Like, she's not going to say that. And really, do you want her to say that? Do you want her up in her head? No.
Right.
You need to, as a man, be grounded in yourself, make the invitations, and then her response. That is her communication. That tells you what you need to know. And maybe try some different invitations. If your interest level in her is high enough, make some other invitations and see where she goes with it. See how she responds to it. And if she isn't responding, dude, stop spending your energy on it. And here's the other thing. We're shooting in the dark, and she knows that. She knows that we don't know what her favorite place to go is for ice cream. She knows that we don't know everything about her. She knows this. Women cut us slack. Most of them anyway, cut us slack for not reading their minds and knowing, well, actually, I love to go to, like rooftop hotel bars and do this. And that's like, most of them know that. And they're willing to be adaptive as long as we are making a good faith invitation. If we are getting frustrated, though, realize that frustration is because we're not getting the response that we're expecting and wanting from them. That is not an invitation. That is
burdensome. That's on us.
Exactly.
And that's on us. Yeah.
And that's the thing mindset. I want to point out, like, that is when you're getting to a frustrated place, why isn't she? Guys, we're being dependent on her behavior, not a sexy place, not the place a woman wants to be, because you're having that in the beginning. She doesn't think that's going to suddenly stop once you guys are exclusive or once you guys are sleeping together. We got to start out on the right foot. We make an invitation, we see the response, and we adjust accordingly. That's why we call this a dance.
Got it. Okay. All right. So we're running out of time, and I want to just run through a few more scenarios. I think we did a really good job of both dating app and in real life, and like how to communicate up to the effective communication in securing the date and communicating around that. Now, I want to just talk about, like, we did talk a little bit about follow-up also, but like frequency and pacing. We're busy dads, and oftentimes we'll get messages in, and we're talking, whether it's a phone call or a text message or an email or something, like, what is the, like I call it the batching rule. Like, maybe you get something of, I like rules, right? It's better to send like maybe one thoughtful text at the end of the day. Hey, I got your message. I've been really busy today. Maybe we can schedule time to talk, or maybe we can go out tomorrow and catch up or whatever. Is that fair communication? Just because we are dads, like there's times between work and kids and like everything that's going on, like, I literally I don't have time. Or is it better to be like, hey, just want to recognize that you sent me a message. I'm so busy today. Yeah. I'll follow up with you tomorrow, or we'll chat tomorrow, or something like that. How do you handle that?
When it's in the early stages, when you haven't even been on a first date yet, I mean, people are busy. We don't know each other. I think.
No, I'm talking like you started to maybe have a date or a couple dates. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So once you've had a couple of dates, I think the idea is you need to communicate effectively what your reality is like, and to set proper expectations. And, because some people, they've got their phone with them and they text back, always within, 5 to 30 minutes. They're just like that. They have a job that allows them to do that. Other people are, my phone is off and in my bag because I am out making sales calls and driving all day, and I can't do that. Different people have different things and different demands that they have on a daily basis. I think helping her share and know what to expect from you. Again, this is, women want to know what to expect. It's like, okay, well, I can't hear from Jude, but Jude, by the way, I like to get, a message from you in the evening, just saying goodnight, touching base. If I go 2 or 3 days, it makes me freak out inside as a woman. Okay. You want to be sensitive to that and, communicate with her, look, I can't text message you that much in the day, but definitely in the evening, you can always count on hearing from me. And then she does hear from you. You're setting expectations, and you're finding a way that the communication can work between the two of you. Some people want to communicate all day long. And, I've heard therapy sessions where it's like, well, he never responds. And she's upset that he isn't responding within the hour while he's at work. and he has a job that doesn't allow him to do it. Well, that's an issue on her end, It's perfectly fine. And I think this is your masculine frame, is you need to you tell the world what to expect from you. You tell the world how you're going to engage with it. You show up and say that, this is how I do this. I don't do 30-minute video calls on a dating app. I do 5-minute video calls on a dating app. And if the world, and for the most part, and I think this is the thing that a lot of people and men don't understand, is the world is ready to accept you telling it how it's going to be. And when the world is just like, well, but the reason it doesn't is because we haven't communicated to the world how it's going to be, what to expect from us. Set those expectations and again, embrace them positively. This isn't like, oh, I can't, it's really hard when you're saying, it's like, no, like, look, I'm really focused on whatever I'm doing during the day. I give my full attention to the people when I'm with them. I don't check my phone when I'm with somebody. And when I'm with clients, I don't check my phone. That this is a rule that I have. This is how I am. How is a woman not going to respect that? As long as you then close the loop with her and provide the communication.
And maybe she doesn't like that, and maybe that doesn't work, and then that's going to be fine. She's going to let you know, or you're going to let her know that that's just not something you can do. You can't trade text message conversations throughout a full day while you're working, taking care of the kids, doing all the stuff. So that just comes in when you're learning about each other through the relationship and understanding how each other communicates and what your needs are. Right. Okay.
Yeah. When I'm with my kids, I'm 100% with my kids. I do not check my phone. I mean, a woman that's like, oh, well, that doesn't seem like the way it should be. Yeah, you can, the door's over there. You can check out because you're not understanding the value of my connection with my children. Yeah. Present yourself to the world the way you are and let the world, for the most part, accept it.
Right.
And when it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right. So what about emojis and periods? Okay.
Periods. Now, which periods are we talking about here?
No, like a period at the end of a sentence.
Punctuation.
So, punctuation. Yeah. Well, period. Like, actually, so apparently this is a thing, and I didn't know it, especially with like millennials, is that is like overly rigid. Like, so. And then sometimes the emojis apparently mean you're much more emotional. So this seems like a whole
it is
like a communication like a language that I don't like. Sometimes I have just learned that you write in full sentences and use proper grammar and I use commas after where there's supposed to be commas and periods at the end. And then, but I do use emojis too. So maybe that's my problem, Dallas, is like, I've really confused the feminine population because I do text in full sentences with proper grammar and punctuation, but I do use a lot of emojis. So I can see where that maybe is confusing people.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Rich, this is actually a very rich topic. You and I fall into the same camp. I also write in complete sentences, capitalize, punctuation in the middle and at the end. I do use emojis to a certain extent. Emerald and I actually, we just recorded a podcast episode that's going to be airing probably in March about men's emojis and how to use them effectively and not, and what do you do with it. For the most part, you want to use emojis. The short version is use them less than she does. Use them sparingly and have a few that are kind of your go-tos. The sunglass emoji, thumbs up are good, particularly as a reaction to her message. The upside down smiley face is a good one. If you use them all the time, or, as much or more than she does, yes, you are going to come off as rather emotional. That's just the style and the feel of it. I would say look at her amount of emojis and, dial it back, I don't know, 30 to 60% from where she is, something like that.
So she uses none. You should not use any either.
Well, no. So then the emoji becomes more of a punch. So it's like, well, screw this. I'm not interested in having a completely dry text conversation. I'm going to go ahead and throw in this ironic emoji, to like do a mic drop moment or something. I do the same thing with words. I write in full sentences, punctuation, all that stuff. And then sometimes I will just drop something that's completely improper, because it breaks the pattern of how I have been messaging, and that has a huge impact.
Like a picture of Cartman.
Exactly. Yes. If you're Jude and you're conducting research on your online
Cartman
dating
voice
apps,
and a picture
yes.
of Cartman.
God,
there you go.
Why you are still single is beyond me, Jude. It's beyond me.
I know. Every woman asks me that. I'm like, I don't know. I have any idea. Maybe you could ask Dallas. Listen to our show.
That's the short version of what it is with punctuation. But I'm going to bring it back to, again, the idea of there isn't a right or wrong way. I know I said adapt to her level of emojis, and I do feel that helps the two of you sort of stay in sync. Mm-hmm. That also often goes with frequency of communication. A woman will communicate to you how often or not often, she'd like to talk on the phone or with text messages. She'll kind of show you that pace, and we want to respond accordingly in a way that's effective for both of us.
Yeah.
But you write in complete sentences. You tell the world, this is the kind of guy that I am. Dallas, I'm the kind of guy that I wear dress shoes when I'm on a date, unless there's a good reason otherwise. I usually wear button-up shirts. I write in complete sentences. This is me presenting myself to the world. I'm not going to hide it because some millennial thinks, oh, well, you're out of date. And I'm like, well, yeah, and I think you don't show respect. I mean, there's different points of view on this.
It's all feedback, right? We talk about it before. It's all feedback. You put out, if you're in your masculine frame and you're who you are and you've done the work to understand what your values and beliefs are, and you put your life together, and then you put that out there, you're gonna get the feedback. Not all feedback is going to be like, oh, you're the best, Dallas. You're the best, Jude, right? Yeah. Like, no, you're not. You're just not going to get that. But that's not a bad thing. Actually, I would contend that that's a good thing because that means that you are different and that you are unique. And so there's going to be that's going to rub people wrong sometimes.
Or
not wrong, but just not be their cup of tea.
Yeah. And it could be something that is different about you. Maybe they're teasing you about it, but maybe they secretly like it. Maybe they actually like it. And over time, they're like, you know what? I love that Dallas actually takes the time. Even though I'm doing speech to text, I'm actually saying, hey there, comma, so and such and such, comma,
I do that
period, and then I go back and proofread what I wrote before I send it because the phone doesn't always get it right. Question mark, it actually puts the words question and space. And
or comma.
Yeah,
I know. It makes me crazy. That's funny. Okay. We're running really long. Okay. Did you want to make a point?
Nope. Go for it.
Okay, we're running really long, but I did want to just hit on the ghosting and the slow fade of communication that starts to happen, right? The no response. What do you do? The dad standard of breaking up. If you're not feeling it, what do you say? And then those two, those kind of two things. When you start to feel her starting to not respond or fade away. And when you start to be like, you said, I'm not thinking about you and it's been a week, right?
Yeah. Okay. So when she's starting to fade away, you feel like, it's kind of drifting or something, make bold invitations, strong invitations. Don't go subtle. Leave a voice note, and if you haven't left them for a while, invite her out to, hey, there's this concert I really want to go to. Would you like to come with me? Not like, hey, would you like to grab another drink? Make it a bold invitation to see how she responds to it. If she doesn't respond to it, the question I would ask myself is, do I want to keep pouring energy into a person that is not reciprocating it? And the answer most of the time is going to be, no, I don't.
No.
And, and if she's fading off, and she's not responding to you, I mean, it's nice to get closure, but dude, you're getting the information you need. Is she filling up your tank or is she draining your energy? If she's draining your energy and she doesn't want to give you quote unquote closure, dude, just let her wander off. You already know what you need to know, that she's not giving you what you need. That's your closure. And ultimately, in relationships, we have to find our own closure. It's not really with the other person that we get it. Anybody who's dealt with their parents knows that. When it comes the other way around, where you have, where you're not really feeling it. Okay. So if it's super early, you've only been on one date and it's just high or whatever, I don't worry about it. If she asks you out and you're not feeling it, do the girl a favor and just say, look, I appreciate the invitation, but I'm just not really feeling the connection. I wish you the best of luck. If you've been dating and, doing stuff and everything, and you're again, not really feeling it, and you feel like she wants more energy from you that you're doing it, heal her, make her complete again. She is opening herself. She is inviting you in as a precious resource. Be a good camper and leave the campsite better than you found it when you rolled up.
What does that sound like, Dallas?
It's like, look, I really, I've really appreciated getting to know you. I don't feel like this is the right fit for me. Or you can say what women say to us a lot of the time is like, I would really rather just be friends. Which is, again, transitioning, and you're removing the romantic, element, but you're telling her no in ways that can give her closure. And she's not just like, oh, did he just wander off? Is he just sleeping with somebody else? And is he going to come back and want to have sex with me again? Like, what's happening here? Be a responsible camper and pack it up and give her back to herself, and it can be hard because who doesn't like to get attention and affection and know that they're desired? Like, everybody does. But don't be that person that drains other people's batteries just to feed you selfishly when you're not really reciprocating. Step up, do the hard thing, and I think we mentioned this in another episode, you be the one to exit the situation, leave her in a warm place, leave her in shelter. You're the one that wants to leave, get in your car and have to drive home because you're the man that faces nature the way it is.
Yeah. And maybe we need to do a whole episode on how to do that, right? Because that's a delicate, really delicate balance. And you brought up, well, if it's only a couple or few dates, saying something like, hey, I just am not feeling it, and I really appreciate the time we spent. If it's more than that, probably entails having a face-to-face conversation where you need to do some things, make her feel comfortable, hopefully have it be where she feels comfortable and you can exit, some stuff around that. So there's a lot of nuance to that if you're going to do it in a mature manner, which I hope everybody listening is going to do, because we've all had it go down the opposite way where they either ghost or just say, hey, I'm not interested anymore. And that just feels like shit.
Yeah. And let's just say ghosting is for cowards.
Yeah.
Ghosting is for particularly for when we're talking about men. Ghosting is for men that cannot deal with conflict. If you can't deal with conflict, you're not a man, you're a coward. Full stop.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to end it. Do not ghost. That's stupid and childish. And if you're ghosting somebody, you need to stop dating, reassess, do the work that we talk about before, your values and everything else. Maybe spend some time in some therapy and mature yourself a little bit. No kidding. No, seriously. Like, if you're doing that, there's seriously something that's just not the right way to act. Okay. Well, we'll leave it on that high note. I do want to put a challenge out there though, Dallas, to any of the dads that are listening. I'm calling it the one text challenge. So you've listened to a lot of what we've talked about, and a lot of Dallas's advice, which is always really great. I want you guys to get out of your head and not overthink this. But if there's somebody that you've been maybe dating or you've got a number of or you're interested in, I want you to send that one text this week. It could be just something like, hey, I've been thinking of you, or hey, let's do this again. Like, or I had such a great time. Let's do it. Like, don't overthink it. Just do it. And then, send us messages, comments, or whatever, or join us next week, the 19th of February at the View House here in Centennials, just south of Denver metro area. We're going to do an in-person Q&A with Dallas there. You can go to thedivorcedadvocate.com and check out the events page for all the information on that. And then, what else, Dallas?
That's it, man. Just want to see all the guys, coming out to interact in person. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a challenge. If you're cool texting, this isn't a challenge for you, and you haven't left any voice notes for somebody, that should be your stretch. Leave your first voice note, and even ask her later. Be mine, I guess. Later down the road. Not right after you send it, but later, and you're on a date, and go like, so by the way, I left that voice note. How did that land? Did you like it? Get the feedback.
Okay,
ask her how it went.
That's my challenge, Dallas. Yeah. I got my challenge now from this episode too. So thank you. All right. Great. As always, Dallas, appreciate it. And gentlemen, if you found some value in what we shared and all Dallas's pearls of wisdom, please give us a star rating on whatever podcast platform or wherever you're listening. Even better, write a brief comment that just helps proliferate the podcast and helps get dads more of the information that they need to have a successful relationship post-divorce, which is all of our ultimate goals, is to have a healthy and fun and excellent relationship. So, Dallas, next week we'll talk again.
Thank you, Jude. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?